live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hello there, and welcome to the program. It be a Tuesday meaning my sister is been rousted from her bed to join us. She's in California, where it's a great deal earlier. Suze.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm okay.
I'm surviving all the company.
Oh, yeah. See, here's what happens if you decamp to a destination location. That could be New York City, right? That could be Palm Springs, California in the winter. All of a sudden, everyone that you vaguely know or want to know come to visit. So
That's it.
That's it. So,
and sometimes in flocks.
Flocks. Well, I'm flocking there soon.
I know. But
I'm one of them.
Yeah, but you're my sister. That's different.
Okay. So I got to start first, Susan, with this amazing, wondrous turn of events.
In Texas.
In Planned Parenthood and in Texas.
I mean, can you believe it? I read that article right before I went to bed last night. I was going, you're kidding.
Yeah, I know. It's like, what? Wait, what? Wait. Here, this is because the governor, the crazed right-wing governor of Texas, demanded that there be an investigation, of course, into these evil people at Planned Parenthood.
And it was before the grand jury. They were looking to get those folks.
They were trying to get Planned Parenthood and kill it dead. And unbelievable, even with a Republican district attorney, they come out, the jury says, wait a minute. No, if there's anyone who's broken the law here, it's the sons of bitches who made the video and concocted this whole thing based on a lie. So they're indicted. They were indicted
on a felony.
On a felony count.
Yeah.
When that broke, the coverage was so incessant and Planned Parenthood could say till they were blue in the face. It's a lie. It was totally edited, making it, and I don't think anyone really was listening, right?
Mm-mm. No.
Which is why
they didn't care.
No, which is why I am so enraged at my local paper, the Post-Gazette, because to me this was the big news. It wasn't on our front page. I think stupid things.
No, I had to go looking for it again this morning because honestly, I just thought, did I dream that?
Yeah, right.
What
it is
was
one
that
of those
story that I read
know.
right before I went to, and I had to go looking for it.
I know. When I first saw the news of it, I saw it on a Twitter feed, and I thought, "Oh my God!" And then I thought, "Well, I don't know. This can't be." It was just too ridiculous. But the DA said, "We were called upon to investigate allegations of criminal conduct by Planned Parenthood. And as I stated at the outset of the investigation, we must go where the evidence leads us." And it led them in a total U-turn and came right back at the very people who had accused Planned Parenthood of evil doing, when in fact they're the only ones now facing criminal charges. I love it.
Right. So,
but Susan, Texas.
What?
It happened out of a Texas grand jury.
Well, so
Austin.
You and I should apologize because we have been doing to Texans what Donald Trump is doing to Muslims, and we have to admit that there are good people that live in Texas.
Yes, of course, but they're definitely outvoted all the time, except on this. This is in Austin. This was Austin, this grand jury.
This is Austin.
So I don't really think of that as Texas. I don't think of Austin as Texas.
That's a very different population, but what the hell? What they did was right and frankly brave.
You bet it was brave. You bet
really
it was brave.
But just to be clear, what they found was that these people went in under false pretenses.
Yes.
That they created fraudulent setups under which to operate.
A phony corporation.
Phony corporation that they went in meaning to deceive, and when they could find nothing, they came out with their tape and did what people do. They cut out every fourth word until they had the lady saying what they wanted her to say.
Now,
so it's a total, complete, adulterated fabrication.
Yeah, right. Adulterated fabrication. The other thing is do you know these guys with their fake corporation posing as people who they were not to gain access, to gain the trust of the people at Planned Parenthood they were dealing with, when they're surreptitiously videoing.
You didn't do your mouth warm-up.
So let me just do that again just to make sure I know how to do it again. Videoing. Why is that so hard for me? Because it's 3 vowels in a row. Yo-I. With a quack, quack here and a quack, quack there. Here a quack, there a quack, everywhere a quack, quack. Okay.
E-O-ing.
What was my point? Oh, my point was that they did this. They went back and back and back and back over a 3-year period. This took them 3 years of finding enough crap that they could put together, creating their wondrous masterpiece, which, stop and think, resulted in immediate knee-jerk reactions from the Congress, from state legislators, all over the country. States were investigating their Planned Parenthoods. They did it here. They did it in Missouri, your former state. They did it in Illinois. And you know what? Every one of those investigations, which were begun, obviously intent on finding wrongdoing, never found a thing.
Never found anything, but no one went as far as this. And it didn't stop them. Finding the truth didn't stop
they just kept it up. Because, Susan, truth, what's that? What's that? 11 states have now cleared Planned Parenthood of wrongdoing, including this one, including Missouri, including Florida, Georgia. These are some red states we're talking here. Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Kansas, Missouri, Ohio, South Dakota. Wow. And all based on this fraudulent piece of...
Well, and the guy himself seems to be a rather interesting person. He's 26 years old.
Yeah.
He has been on this rant since he was 15, and he calls himself a wanted child or something like that. So clearly,
dear God.
He thinks he survived, that he could have been aborted or something. I have no idea. We all could have been aborted.
Hey, Chuck's telling me, that our video's down both on the website and on YouTube. You mean people aren't seeing my lovely face? Good.
Nina?
Yeah?
Nina?
Hello?
You're cutting in and out.
And I'm cutting in and out. Oh, good. Okay, Suze? Everything okay? Everything okay?
Yeah. I'm okay. Can you hear me?
I'm okay. I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes, I'm okay. Oh, God. Okay. So, anyway, that was the greatest news ever. The very people who are trying to get Planned Parenthood have got themselves.
For a change.
Yeah.
And you are right. There's this story is buried.
It's buried everywhere. So our local paper, stop and think of the original story, The Lie. Front page, day after day after day. And people on it, I mean, it was just incessant. The cable stations, everybody, constant. This comes out, and our local paper, I'm looking for it. It's not on page 1. It's not on page 2. It's not on page 3, 4, 5, 6. And our paper's, I don't think it has more than 8 pages in the front section anymore. And I finally found it on the back page.
Well, that's why, for one thing, Planned Parenthood is suing this guy, and that started before this even came down. I'm sure it was based on, finding no evidence by all those states. And so they're suing these people. But this is why when defense attorneys or prosecutors put something out there in the form of a question that the opposition will object to, and they'll win the objection, they do it on purpose, and they do it because you can't unhear something.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take it out of your brain.
That's right.
So once that's why there's a cause at law, because it's real damage. It is real damage.
That can't be undone. Yeah.
And tarnish your reputation.
Yeah.
It is real damage that cannot, no matter how hard you try, be erased, because it's a memory in people's brains.
You know what? That leads me to a question. With you look at dramas about courtroom, trials, or actually the real thing, and something is said, and an objection is raised, and the judge says, "Yeah, that you're," and then the judge turns to the jury and says, "You are to disregard, what you just heard."
Right.
Well, how do you so any defense attorney or prosecutor knows, let me just get this in here. I know the judge is going to slap it back, but I'll say it. I'm going to put it in their heads. The jury is to disregard. Well,
now, if it's egregious
damage
enough,
done.
it can cause a mistrial, you understand, but it's still a tactic. It is definitely a technique and a tactic.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing, you hear it all the time with newspapers. When, they print the wrong story and the retractions in small print at the bottom of a back page.
Yeah, 3 weeks later. Well, that happened to me, and I long ago, 35 years ago almost. Do you know about that?
I'm not recalling.
Okay, the Post-Gazette again, or maybe it was the paper now that's gone, the Pittsburgh Press, it was the Pittsburgh Press because it was the Sunday paper, the largest circulation paper, and they did an expose of a scandal involving office holders and connected people who somehow were able to park free in this cramped downtown of Pittsburgh, PA, because they all had some kind of a little card that gave them that. And the names, and this is the kind of thing that would outrage anyone reading it. I'm reading it, and I'm outraged.
And then you see your name.
Until I find out that I'm one of the people who has the card. And I went insane. I didn't have it. I didn't know what I thought. What? It said, WTAE television reporter Lynn Cullen. And believe me, don't think WTAE TV didn't call me in right away. What the hell is this? I was in trouble at work. I'm saying I didn't, I don't have any clue. It took well over a week, weeks, I think, before the paper acknowledged that they had made an error, that there had in fact been a Lynn Cullen on their list, but it was some person who lives, I don't know, in Philadelphia who was connected. I don't know. They assumed immediately that it was me. They had done no. So the retraction, the correction, weeks and weeks after the defamation, and it was, as you say, this big. It was that you couldn't even see it. It was on like page 3 of like Tuesday's paper. The fact that maybe 1% of the people who had seen that I had one of these things saw the correction. Yeah, and wasn't that big.
And it doesn't matter anyway because it doesn't erase how people may remember what they read.
Right, exactly. Okay, our video is on. Just want to tell you that. Okay. Okay. Just double checking on all that. All right. Yeah. Well, and of course, the mayor of Texas, the governor of
Boston.
The governor of Texas said nothing about today's announcement in Harris County impacts the state's ongoing investigation. The state of Texas will continue to protect life. And I will continue to support legislation prohibiting the sale or transfer of fetal tissue.
Even though it's not happening.
No, even though there was no sale of fetal tissue, you're going to go on.
Even though the grand jury found that the people on whom you're basing these statements flat out lied.
Oh, dear.
I mean, it's disheartening.
Yeah, it is. It is. Don't people apologize anymore or say, whoops, I'm sorry?
No.
Oh. Okay.
But they're in real trouble now because now Planned Parenthood has 9 states finding no evidence and a grand jury finding evidence the other way, and they got a civil suit going, and this is all admissible.
Do you realize Planned Parenthood, first of all, is scrapped always for money? I mean, much of their money comes from donations from people like me and Susan. And this whole thing truly hurt them, and not more than hurt them. It required a huge output of time, energy, and you can imagine substantial legal fees, public relations fees, all this stuff to fight this total lie and slander. I hope that through some of their suits they can get some of it back.
Well, why? Who are they going to get it back from? This 26-year-old fanatic?
Wow.
But they'll keep him real busy and out of trouble for a while.
Yeah. At least that. He thought he was being a journalist. That's what he said. I was employing things that all investigative journalists do. What a fool. They do not. They don't set up dummy corporations and manufacture counterfeit identifications from the state, which I think that's one of the reasons they got charged. They counterfeited some identification from.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
that's not what journalists do.
I mean, journalists don't heavily edit their subject quotes to say the exact opposite of what they're saying.
Exactly. Usually.
Well, if they do, they get in trouble. But the people that
let's talk about real journalists. Yeah, real
right.
journalists. Remember those?
They get disciplined and fired.
Right.
Publicly.
Yeah.
I can think of a couple people at the Boston Globe, at the New York Times, so.
Washington Post. Yeah. Okay, Suze. So while we're on the criminal beat, let's acknowledge that the University of Missouri that had that racial difficulty and then the student activism, which took down their president and I think even their chancellor, right?
Yep.
Eventually.
Yep.
One of the things from that was this so-called journalism professor.
She was an adjunct. I mean, she was a part-timer.
I know, but she was still supposedly teaching journalism.
I think she still is.
Yeah, she still is. She still is. She's the one who tried to knock a camera out of a student journalist who was filming what was happening. And
in the quad, in a public space.
In a public space. And then who said to him, "You got to get out of here." And he kept shooting and saying, "No, I don't. No, I don't." Strange, the student knew more than the professor. And then she tries to knock his camera out. All that is on.
And then she called for muscle.
And then she says, "I need some muscle over here." Now, she's in big trouble. And in fact, she's been charged.
Yeah.
She's been charged for a misdemeanor assault because of her striking at, I think that's a bit much, but, and the university, is retaining her thus far. They're saying this will be part of the review. And what do you make of this, Susan, since you know the Missouri legislature well? This, I thought, had to be a typo. Earlier this month, says the New York Times, 99 Republican state representatives in Missouri and 18 Republican senators signed a letter to the university administration for the system, calling for her dismissal.
Yeah.
Isn't that surprising? Why would all of a sudden all of these Republicans in Missouri care so mightily about journalistic freedoms?
Because those guys are all up in the university's business. The university's, funded by the legislature, and they are, just like page 96 out of the Koch brothers, rule book. They're trying to take over the university and make sure that they teach the right thoughts.
But it seems like they wouldn't go after her. It seems to me they'd be on her side. That's what I don't think.
No, they're just happy to go where it causes the most problems, and they can defund the university a little bit more.
Okay, I suppose you're right. All righty. So
I mean, there's absolutely no way I'm going to find that they were doing the right thing.
No, I mean we know that is a given. So, did you happen to hazard a glimpse at the CNN candidate town hall last night?
I didn't. I was busy with relatives.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay. Oh, and relatives you would not want to watch a political thing with?
No, it would be dangerous to my health.
Well, let me tell you, I grudgingly tuned in a little late, and I found it fascinating, in part. That Susan, it was a format I'd never seen before, and I liked it a lot. From what I could tell, because, again, I didn't see all of it, they started with, I guess, Bernie Sanders just in a one-on-one on stage, taking questions from audience and being interviewed by, what's that Cuomo guy? I can think of all his, Chris Cuomo, right?
Right.
Yeah. And It really, so there was no interruptions. There was no, that's not true from anybody else, because each candidate was on the stage by themselves.
And we're given some quality time to speak.
Quality time to speak. And wow. I have to tell you, as I said, I came in a little late, I think maybe quite a bit late, on to the Bernie Sanders one. And Susan, he is hitting his stride as a, at first he was such a, curmudgeonly, this, that. People said he didn't like to shake. He's just this curmudgeon. Man, he was lighting up the stage with his humor, with his just humanity, I just loved him.
Well, I'm telling you, I think he is poised to snatch
could be
right out of Hillary's hands again.
I'd still be shocked.
Enough to make me awful. I think there's a better than 50-50 chance that we're looking at a Trump
Sanders. I still
and it's a picture of the polarization of the country.
Yeah, I still see Trump. Sanders, I still don't quite see, but yeah, there is that possibility. We can see it now, and we have to stop poo-pooing it.
Yeah, the reason we can't see it is because we started out with the idea that he couldn't win. But you have to give credit to the fact that he is bringing out the millennial vote that nobody else is even speaking to, and they can make the election. And if they don't show up, we're in trouble.
Yeah.
So, it might be that we need to redo our math on this one.
Yeah, well, I think the Clinton campaign already has. You would think they would have learned from 2008 when they discounted that upstart senator from Illinois. And they did the same with Bernie Sanders, and I can understand them doing it with Sanders.
Right.
But clearly they can't anymore. And so it was wonderful to watch. And then Hillary came out. So after Sanders, the next guy was this O'Malley, who nobody cares about because he ain't really he's not in the running, okay? And I thought, oh my God, anyone watching on TV like me doesn't want to sit through a half hour of this guy who ain't going to win before I get to Hillary Clinton. So I thought she really drew a short straw.
Right.
But anyway, O'Malley, I watched a little bit. He did something that annoyed me so much that someone in the audience asked him a question. And he got up. And he starts walking toward her. And he takes off his jacket. And the next thing you know, he's unbuttoning his sleeves. And he's rolling up. All the time she's asking him a question, he is going through this very studied rolling up my sleeves thing.
Right.
And I thought, oh, come on. Just listen to her question. I don't need to see undress here, okay? I mean, this sort of metaphoric and this and I'm the cool guy. It looks so studied. So
right.
I just wanted to say, yeah, stop it. So anyway, I tuned out for a while. Then I tuned back when Hillary came on, and man, she rose to the occasion too. Wow. She's
good.
She's very good. So a kid got up.
I feel very vaguely sorry for her.
I do too. So a kid got up, Susan, and just flat out said to her, a lot of people I talk to, my generation, they think you're dishonest. They think that, and I thought, God, I can't imagine looking at her and saying what he was saying to her. He said all those things. And she handled it. I mean, she did well. And it was hard not to sort of feel sorry for her. Really.
Well, she has two big strikes against her. Her relationship with the man that she married and his baggage and the stuff that the Republicans have been trying to hang on her, in terms of tarnishing her reputation.
Yeah. She's so clearly smart as hell and
really
capable.
Smart.
Yeah,
She'd be a damn fine president.
Yeah, we got call. Hello? Hello, caller.
Morning, all.
Hi.
I wanted to disagree with you on Hillary. I still say she's going to squeak out Iowa.
Well, she could. I think it's neck and neck
Bernie's
there.
Bernie's going to win New Hampshire, and that's about it.
Yeah.
I could bet money on it.
I don't think anyone wants to bet on anything in this election.
I think she's going to squeak it out. If she doesn't, she's going to pull off the rest of the states. He's not going to do it. No way. I could bet my life on it.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
bye.
We'll see. I wouldn't. Part of me hopes that she does do it. Part of me is just watching in slack-jawed amazement what Bernie's doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then picture that first couple. I mean, we got this sort of non-practicing old Jewish guy and his younger Catholic wife, Mary.
Mm-hmm.
And their blended family. I mean, it would be interesting.
Ain't gonna happen. See, I think let's say it happens, Trump and Sanders get the nominations. Trump wins. Trump wins because America has spent generation after generation, even more than a century,
demonizing socialists.
Exactly. So, and not only that. Then let's add that he'd be the oldest president-elect in the history of the country. And
the first Jewish man.
And the first Jew. And he's from New York. And he talks like that. And I'm sorry. I can't. I mean, but we wouldn't have thought they'd elect a guy, Barack Hussein Obama, either.
Right.
I don't know.
I think it's sort of wonderful. So let's just see what happens.
Okay. I just want to say this about this Cuomo guy who did it.
Yeah, he was good.
He was very good in his questions and everything, but there's something about him which is repellent. And I just want to, and what it is, Susan, this guy, he's nice looking. Better looking than his brother, the governor of New York. Mm-hmm. Better looking than his dad. He's handsome. Swarthy Italian good looks. And he clearly works out like a demon. So you can tell, he's got these huge biceps. And you can tell he's got the pecs and maybe even has a six-pack. Who the hell knows? How do I know this? Because the jacket the clothes he was wearing looked like they were spray painted on him. It was awful. I mean, when you see a guy who it looks like he was about to burst out of the jacket he was wearing, it was so off-putting.
Skinny suits.
It was awful. He looked like
that shrunken suit look. It just looks like he bought the wrong size.
Wrong size. And then when you have a body like his, it looks like you're saying, "Hey, baby, look at this." It looked inappropriate. It looked really ugly, and it was sort of a shiny thing. And I thought, my God, he looks like a lounge lizard. Exactly what he looked like. He looked like a lounge lizard. And there's something very cocky about him. He was very capable. If he had looked differently, I'd be raving about his performance. But, I mean, it's hard to stare at a lounge lizard. Just saying. Somebody should tell him, Chris.
Buy a bigger suit.
Buy a bigger suit. We can tell you're built, babe, but, come on. Please. I could barely hear your questions because I was wondering whether a seam would all of a sudden just really bad. Unbelievable.
It is. Excuse me. It is a style. I don't know if it is still the style.
Ooh.
I remember that there was a guy in St. Louis that I would run into at events now and then, and he always wore those suits. And I swear to God, I just felt like the pants were too short. Just straining at his thighs.
Yeah, everything is too.
The jacket looked like it was like 3 sizes.
Yeah,
too small.
that's what this looked like, and it looks uncomfortable. There's no way it's comfortable to have your, I don't know.
No,
And
it looks more than uncomfortable. It looks stupid. I'm just going to put it out there. It looks stupid.
Are you finding it on the internet now? Oh, no, you're not. I thought you were looking up him from last night. It really, and it was too short. It really looked awful. I just want to say, God, you know what? This is this thing that's happening in television news. The women are wearing these tight, really tight outfits, dresses, right? And they always seem to have sleeveless dresses on, even if it's 25 below zero. And now the guys are doing the same thing with this. And I'm thinking, okay, what's next? We're just going to take the friggin' clothes off. Let's just do it in the nude.
They've tried that.
They did somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm sick of, and now I used to joke about how I started as a weekend weather girl on TV and how I was a joke and the station hired me as a joke because weather girls were these babes, and they'd wear, tight clothes and have big boobs and all that stuff. And I have big boobs now, I'll tell you, but I didn't then. And I, wasn't the type. I look like a hippie. And they thought it'd be funny because I'd be the antithesis of it. Well, then weather people on TV got professional. And now they're back to looking like these babes. Have you noticed that?
Yeah. Well, it's because news isn't news anymore. And
it's
it's entertainment.
Oh, God. I think they should hire someone like me, someone who walks out in boots and a mid-calf skirt and big hoop earrings and, her hair just hanging down to her waist. That's what they need.
Well, I will say in Chicago they have the local news is populated by a lot of older women. Like veteran political beat woman is probably in her early 60s. And I think I watch that channel. I like that.
You feel like, oh, here are some people who really know what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on. I'm trying to think. Well, this was good. The Supreme Court did something good yesterday.
Yes, they did.
Of course, Scalia, Thomas, and Alito. Those are the three, those are the three evil guys. They're just awful. They were against it. Whatever it is, I'm against it. But Roberts voted with the majority, as did Kennedy. And here was the big thing. Here's what how do these guys who were dissenters, how do they live with themselves?
Yeah, I don't know, but you better tell people what you're talking about.
The Supreme Court yesterday ruled that a life sentence, a mandatory life sentence without parole for a juvenile,
imposed on a juvenile, right,
is unconstitutional. Can you imagine? I mean, and they cited the fact
that after a period of years, a review is mandatory. But here's my problem. We've already incarcerated a child in an adult prison to be raised by criminals.
Yeah.
What chance does that person have
of ever being okay? I don't know. Do you know what, though? What this means, though? There are like over 3,000 of these kids. They're not kids now. They might be 55 years old now. They're kids who committed a crime when they were teenagers, and they were put in jail for the rest of their lives. And they're now all going to have access to a petition for release or a review. I hate to tell, this is embarrassing. The vast majority of these kids are imprisoned in Pennsylvania.
You don't think it goes back to that judge and that?
No, he couldn't have done. No, because those weren't. He was putting those kids away for looking cross-eyed at a teacher and things like that.
Right.
No, those were not life sentences. It says here they figure there's as many as 2,000 of these of people in prison that this will apply to. Almost 1/4 of them are sitting in Pennsylvania jails.
Boy, you win. And Missouri has executed like 12 people this year alone.
Yeah.
We hold the record there. They hold the record in
Good
that.
for you,
And then
Suze.
Chicago's record was 33 hours without a shooting day before yesterday.
Oh, that's great. That's good. 479 juveniles in the state of Pennsylvania are in jail and were given life sentences with no hope of ever getting paroled. 479. And yeah, who knows? So if we start letting them out after they've been raised, as Susan said, by their fellow prisoners, wow.
Well, they don't get out. They just get a review.
But they might get out. I mean, some of them have been in there forever.
Right. They might get out.
Hey, guys, and 37 of them, guess where 37 of them are? I bet this is the most in any county, although maybe Philadelphia County would have more. Allegheny County. Disgusting. I like this newfound desire on the part of well-meaning people from all political persuasions to start trying to get our totally runaway, corrupted, despicable, so-called criminal justice system under a measure of control.
Right. Put the emphasis on justice and not on criminal.
Oh, God. And then Obama, with a stroke of a pen, what did he do? Something else.
I'm trying to remember. It's just left me blank.
Yeah, he did something too.
It's also about
solitary. Solitary confinement.
Federal juveniles, which really the number of kids in federal prison
not huge.
Is not huge. Because they don't commit federal crimes.
Okay. Oh Lordy. Okay. Back to the Republicans. Do you know how much they hate Ted Cruz? It's hard to describe. Let me read to you just one paragraph from an opinion piece in today's Wall Street Journal written by Brett Stevens. A rock-ribbed conservative Republican. First of all, he actually uses the word that Cruz is repelling millions of Americans. Then he goes on to say, and maybe I wouldn't be quite so nauseated by the junior senator from Texas if the cynicism with which he mounted his attack last week on New York values weren't so wholly matched by the sinister taint of an ambitious sophist who takes his audience for fools. Could you write a more contemptuous sentence?
No.
Then he goes on to say, Ted Cruz is the guy who made Donald Trump look tolerant and statesmanlike. And that is saying something. And then he just goes on to rip him apart. They hate him. Thank God. Thank God. The one good thing the Republican establishment might do this time around is destroy Ted Cruz, I hope.
I don't know.
I don't think he's going. You can't get anywhere when nobody likes you. He's dropped. I don't know.
He's trying to turn it into a positive. I don't want to be a pal. I don't want to be an insider. I don't care if they like me. And, and the rest of the Republicans are going, we got to stop this. We got to stop trying to bring down all these people we don't like because that might be...
They can't figure out who to stop first. They're desperate to get Trump out, but on the same token, they actually, I think, would prefer Trump to Cruz, which is, who said that? Was it Grassley? Some senator, people are coming out of the woodwork. Oh, no, it was Bob Dole. Bob Dole said he can imagine Trump as president, and he would take him in a minute over Cruz.
Right.
Bob Dole. I mean, he's not a lunatic.
Can you, honestly, is not the most frightening thing in the whole world imagining a President Trump?
No, I think a President Cruz is more. I have to tell you, I'm starting to think, okay, President Trump. I'm trying to get it in my head. And it's less horrifying to me than it was 2 months ago, which shows how you just start making adjustments in your head.
I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet, Lynn.
I keep thinking, well, it would sober him up. There's no doubt about that. It would sober him up. If he were to win, I think he would be terrified.
I would hope so. If he were scared shitless, I'd think, okay, there's evidence of a brain.
Well, he does have a brain. He also is not. I don't know. God, what's become of us?
I don't know, but in a country that's obsessed with bullies, if you don't know him when they're standing
you see him
in front of you, that's Donald Trump.
Yeah, exactly. There's Donald Trump. He's a bully boy, but he's an See, he's other things too. He's entertaining, and he knows it. I thought his line, and people are trying to make a big deal about it, I'm so popular, I could stand in the middle of whatever, Fifth Avenue and shoot people down and, my whatever.
I could shoot people in Times Square.
And everybody would still love me. And I actually thought that was funny because I thought it's true. And there's all these people trying to, I think it was like Glenn Beck or Sean Hannity saying, why, that's an outrage and that's a dangerous statement. I mean, come on, it was a joke. He's a joker in part. And people don't get that part.
And he's a braggart.
Total braggart. That's what he is.
And so what he was saying was, I'm so popular, I can do whatever I want.
Right,
and
right.
You're right. He's right.
Right.
Like, get Sarah Palin to endorse him and then clearly, be so repulsed by her himself that he couldn't stand to be around her.
Do you think he's going to shake her? I mean, really? I thought he looked uncomfortable during her Tina Fey. Did you see the Tina Fey?
Did you see that?
Okay.
I actually accidentally turned it on and had to stare at her for several
to make
minutes
sure it wasn't.
To make sure it wasn't Sarah Palin.
Well, totally nailed it. Totally nailed it. I mean, and what's amazing is the writers at Saturday Night Live really didn't have to
They don't
change
change right.
Palin's actual remarks.
They never did. That was always the joke, that all she was doing was saying what Sarah Palin said.
Oh, my God. She's gotten worse, hasn't she? Or was that my imagination? She's gotten...
I think she's even less coherent.
Yeah,
and
less coherent.
And I do think that the whole thing with blaming her son's beating up his wife on PTSD. Is so offensive. I mean, that kid, he's been beating up people since before he went to
That's true. That's true. Wasn't that breathtaking that she could pivot like that? Her son punches his girlfriend in the face, is threatening her with like an AK-47, and it's Barack Obama's fault. How do you even... Unbelievable. And this is our politics.
Everything's Barack Obama's fault. You know that.
Yes, it's true. It's absolutely true. Okay, so I hate to be the bearer of bad tidings, but if you live in a high-rise, did you see that?
No.
The higher the floor you're on, the lesser chance you have of surviving a heart attack.
Well, of course.
Well, okay, of course. But do people ever think of that when they say, give me the penthouse?
No, actually, when I was looking to move to Chicago, I told them that I would look at some of the high rises, but I refused to live above the 10th floor. And
because you wanted you want to be able to walk up lest there was
I want to be able to run up and run down. And I lived on the 26th floor in New York, and I had to do that more than once. And yeah, I don't. In a case of an emergency, I want easy egress, and I want emergency people to be able to get to me in a timely fashion.
Exactly. We got a call. Hello, caller.
I'm calling about Sarah Palin.
Yes.
No, you were talking about Tina Fey's.
It's just dead on. Just dead on.
Yeah, and I was going to say, as I was dialing the phone, that they never changed the words. Sarah Palin just says what she says, but then Sue said that. But if you want to see something funny, look for Yosemite Sam, Sarah Palin. It's hilarious. Somebody took her words and dubbed them over Yosemite Sam walking into like a saloon.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Oh, my God, that would be. It's just wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and that's the thing. What interests me, because I know people, like successful, wealthy people who are supporting Trump. But here's something I noticed about them. They are all like Trump. They inherited their money.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things, like my analysis of Trump is, he has to try to continuously prove himself that he's his own man. He's not a daddy's boy. Who he's not a self-made man. He's trying to make himself, as opposed to being daddy's boy.
But he's so out of it. He's so out of that in that regard. Didn't he make a statement, something like, I had to make my own. My dad gave me a little loan of $1 million. Didn't he? Those words did come out of his mouth.
Yeah, and the sad thing is, you want to think that he's joking, but he's serious.
I know.
like I think, and I think I think what's his name? Colbert made fun of that.
Yeah.
When he said he can stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and people still support him. And I think he's getting to the point like I can't believe this.
Yeah.
He's even realizing this is ridiculous. Look at all these things I've said, and people are still supporting me. He can't even figure it out.
I read something that really made me think, oh my God, he's starting to pivot now into the land of this could really happen, which is not how he started. There's no way he thought he was going to be where he is today. And this guy actually, for the first time, what was it, this weekend, stayed overnight in Iowa in a Holiday Inn Express. If you think he's ever slept a wink in a Holiday Inn Express before, and he said, very nice bed, firm. Was probably shocked to think it. I can't even imagine him in a Holiday Inn Express. And then, not only that, then he went off to church for an hour afterwards.
Yeah.
This is a guy who's now becoming a real politician.
And I believe the pastor or preacher or whoever in the church was talking about how we should be more accepting of Muslims and Mexicans.
Oh, really? Really? Yeah. Great.
He went to the church. He accidentally heard somebody who was against what he was talking about.
Wow. That's amazing. It's all it's really, you can't make it up.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, you said I can't imagine a president. I can imagine the Republicans nominating him, but I can't imagine him making it for president. And I have a vivid imagination.
Well, I think Hillary would beat him, but I don't think Sanders would.
Yeah, I heard you say that, and it's one of those things. It's that thing where you well, he's Jewish, he's New York, and all this kind of good stuff. Even like I said, the South and all those people, but everybody else. Sanders has the youth. And the minorities are not going to vote for Trump. So even Sanders will beat Trump, I think. There'll be a heck of a lot of
I
crazy people to come out and vote for Donald Trump to beat Sanders, because a whole lot of, I ain't letting this sucker run my life, people are going to go out and vote.
No, I think if it were Trump Sanders, you might have the largest voter turnout in the history of the United States. And you also might have a third party, because that's where, if that were to happen.
Bloomberg, that's where Bloomberg comes in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. If Sanders wins the nomination, or if Trump wins, that's more. He won't run against Hillary, but he'll run against Sanders.
That's right. And stop and think about it. Then you would have 2 billionaires in the race.
Yeah.
2 New York billionaires in the race.
Mm-hmm.
2 New York Jews in the race.
And wait a minute, and one midget.
And one what?
One midget.
And one midget.
Oh, yeah, because Bloomberg is a very tall.
Susan, you can't say midget. Susan! Uh-oh. Politically correct call out. You just triggered a whole bunch of people.
That's when the middle of America explodes.
Donald Trump says I can.
Susan, are you where you should be? You sound very soft.
I'm right where I should be.
All right.
Yeah, because could you imagine that if the middle of America has a choice between billionaires, New Yorkers, and Jews? Middle America, you want to talk about? You think Barack Obama got gun sales up? There's going to be militias out in Utah and those big square states with tanks. I can't. The Americans go. I don't know. They will all start sounding like Sarah Palin.
Do you know? Speaking of Barack Obama and then Jews and how there was a piece in the PG about all of these despicable things that happen to black workers who are doing the fracking, oil and gas rigs in, sort of more remote locations where they're the only black guy on a crew of,
I know at least 3 guys that quit because of that.
Yeah. And here's one of them who's actually suing him, said, in his short tenure, he had been called boy, buckwheat, and here's the one that blew my mind. He'd also been called nigga Jew.
Oh, my God.
Holy cow, he probably never paid for lunch.
Have you ever heard of that one?
Never.
That's where you put them both together. A nigga Jew. That's what it says right here.
Mm-hmm. And see, that shows the lack of creativity.
Yeah.
In the races, because I would have went with Jigger.
Lack of imagination and creativity in the racist community. Oh my God!
But I know at least 3 guys. Both of them were either like guards or just laborers.
Well, I think this guy was a truck driver who brought
truck
stuff.
driver. Yeah, well, the guy I know was a truck driver.
Yeah,
I think that was a better job, but after he left that place, but
they found nooses, hanging here and there, and and then the supervisor, when he said something to the supervisor said, "Hey, it's just a rope." Unbelievable.
Well, come on now. That's believable.
Yes, you're right. I take it back.
You just was talking about guess where all of the juveniles. Yeah, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Allegheny County.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah. I do. I take it back. Oh my God.
Yeah, well,
all righty, you. We've reached the end of our road.
Yeah. If you can, well, I'll link it onto my Facebook page. The Yosemite Sam Sarah Palin is hilarious.
Okay, you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
I'm glad we're laughing now. The rest of the world is shaking in its boots between the lunatic in Russia and then, can you imagine if we had Putin in Russia and Donald Trump in Washington?
No.
Oy. Someone said, I'll move to Canada. And I said, the world won't be safe. There wouldn't be anywhere to run.
There's no place to move.
Right.
You might as well shelter in place.
Yeah, right. Shelter in place. All right, Suze. I thank you.
All
right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. I'll see you soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Bye. And as for you guys, I'll see you soon too, like maybe in 23 hours. Okay? Toodle.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.